Recently, Zuckerberg was grilled at a Senate hearing about whether his company Facebook collaborate on content moderation policy with Google and Twitter. It was given obvious attention that all three of these companies are in collaboration with each other from the evidence given by a whistleblower presented by Senator Hawley, who did a fantastic job, by the way, and one I recommend you check out after this video. Links will be in the description. One of the most frightening yet secret internal Facebook tools which the senator brings up is something called Centra. What he basically says is that this tool harvests all the possible data that could be associated to you, not just on Facebook, but on the entire internet, and places it all under an individual profile. This is what the senator said.
What is the Facebook internal tool called Centra?
Senator, I'm not aware of any tool with that name.
Well, let me see if this refreshes your memory. There's a demonstrative now over my shoulder. Centra is a tool that Facebook uses to track its users, not just on Facebook, but across the entire internet. Centra tracks different profiles that a user visits, their message recipients, their linked accounts, the pages they visit around the web that have Facebook buttons. Centra also uses behavioral data to monitor users' accounts, even if those accounts are registered under a different name. And you can see a shot here, a screenshot provided to us of the Centra platform. We blocked out the user's name in the interest of privacy, although you can see this individual's birth date and age, when they first started using Facebook, their last login, as well as all manner of trackings. How many different devices have they used to access Facebook? How many different accounts are associated with their name? What accounts have they visited? What photos have they tagged? And on and on and on. Mr. Zuckerberg, how many accounts in the United States have been subject to review and shut down through Centra?
Senator, I do not know because I'm not actually familiar with the name of that tool. I'm sure that we have tools that help us with our platform and community integrity work. But I am not familiar with that name.
Do you have a tool that does exactly what I've described and that you can see here over my shoulder? Or are you saying that that doesn't exist?
Senator, I'm saying that I'm not familiar with it and that I'd be happy to follow up and get you and your team the information that you would like on this. But I'm limited in what I can, what I'm familiar with and can share today. Senator, we can follow up on that to see what would be useful here.
Will you, I'm almost finished, Mr. Chairman. Will you commit to giving us a list of the number of times Facebook employees have accessed users' personal account information without their knowledge? Yes or no?
Senator, we should follow up on what would be useful here.
And of course, Zuckerberg can't say a thing. He doesn't say yes or no to anything under oath. He can't agree or disagree on what is going on. All he says is that we can follow up on things at a later time, which is a completely bland statement because he doesn't even commit to doing so under oath when asked. Now let's remind ourselves of the genius that was Dostoevsky and take the paths of literature and postmodernism to analyse the grand state of affairs we have got ourselves into. In Notes from Underground, he makes a poignant statement about authoritarian control. I quote, "All human actions, it goes without saying, will then be calculated according to these laws, mathematically, like a logarithm table, reaching 108,000 and entered in a directory. Better still, certain orthodox publications will appear, rather like our modern encyclopedic dictionaries, in which everything will be accurately calculated and specified, that there will no longer be either independent action or adventures in this world. And then it's still you who maintains this. A new political economy will appear on the scene, ready-made and also calculated with mathematical precision, so that in a flash all conceivable questions will vanish, simply because all conceivable replies to them will have been provided. Then the Crystal Palace will be erected." End quote. What he is actually talking about and referring to is science, human nature and free will. Dostoevsky writes that science shows that we people have no special character, that we are very much a piano key, that we must always obey and follow the laws of nature with our hearts, that we are determined on this basis and don't have free will. But then he says, well, if we discover all the rules of nature which regard to human nature, then all human action can be calculated to these laws. That through the use of science we can determine all human action through these laws of human nature. But by doing this, everything will be rational and terribly boring. I think people lack in the judgment of science, especially in relation to the modern world and technological development. When it comes to its association with power, science and technology are the most powerful tools in society, and we can see why by simply looking at what has happened in the past year all over the world. I would say that we have reached the point of discovering most of the rules of human nature as Dostoevsky has just described, or at least the ones which are observable, and by doing so we are also able to determine all human action through these laws of nature. Hence why most countries are in lockdown, and that it is supposed to be based on a premise that science is telling us the truth and nothing but the truth. So how can this premise ever be verified when science, with its ever-growing power, has always been political, depending on scientific questions, the culture in which those questions arise, and the bodies of knowledge and groups from where those questions develop from? Science also maintains strong relationships with particulars, depending on its associations with tech, engineering, computations, economy. The list is endless. Therefore, science works hegemonically, whereby scientific infrastructure is stronger than others in regards to this association in society. We see this being played out by looking at the Great Barrington Declaration. When you start to think about big tech, human data collection, that the actions of humans are becoming harvested easily associates to the logarithm tables and directories in which Dostoevsky talks about, or to be more technologically specific, algorithm development. Big tech understands human behaviour patterns, being no different to understanding the laws of human nature. And this is where hyperreality comes in. Baudrillard developed a postmodern term which refers to the inability to consciously distinguish between reality and a simulation of reality. Examples would be the infusion of physical reality and virtual reality, or human intelligence with artificial intelligence. What big tech are doing is what you would call the personal hyperreality. Everything about you that you could know, your pictures, identity, interests, characteristics, communications, personality, location, even voice mannerisms. Everything is made into a hyperreality which is indistinguishable from your own being in this very moment, which thus evolves over time the more you use the internet. All you need is a hologram and you have a complete human hyperreality, something that could display your entire character. Now what does this mean? If this is completely legitimate, in which it's very likely, then Dostoevsky is right, that there will be, I quote, no independent actions or adventures in this world, and that you won't be free because independent volition, which he even states is something everyone has, will be limited, because what I am pointing out here is something Dostoevsky would have never known about. He didn't know about the internet, and he didn't think independent volition could be taken away, but he did know how authoritarian systems work their way into controlling people. And here we have the use of science or computer science to harvest data about human nature to then place it into computational algorithms for power and, I presume, control. The reason why you won't have independence is because you won't be independent, as there is a hyperreality of your entire being stored in data form. And if you want to continue down the path of AI integration, as Elon Musk seems to want to do, then this is extremely dangerous, because there will be a very viable ability to manipulate data while existing in a realm where you are unable to consciously distinguish between reality and simulation with the use of data. And then, to use Dostoevsky's words, the Crystal Palace can be built. Oh, and by the way, this is all probably done out of your consent, or to be more precise, manufactured consent. And if some sort of crystal palace was in to some way emerge, they can then use that data for whatever they want, especially if you step out of line. If you have ever watched the UK drama series Utopia, you'd know that most of the protagonists, at some point, who are against the deep state and New World Order in which they are trying to stop, get done up for crimes which they never commit. And this is obviously the state trying to capture them as they are on the run and endangering the operation of the New World Order. Again, I'm pretty sure you could do this if such a dystopia ever emerged. And and it's something I would definitely place my bets on, especially in the next 10 years. So happy days. I hope you enjoyed my explanation of the potential future which you might be living in. Just want to make sure, to all the people who watch this channel and enjoy my usual content, please make sure that you go to my website thoughtsonthinking.org and you sign up to my newsletter, because who knows, my channel could very easily just disappear overnight for no good reason, as that is how YouTube treats a lot of its content creators. And because of that, I will probably be making a few other accounts on other video platforms like LBRY, Odyssey and BitChute. So thanks for watching. I will speak to you in the next video.